Welcome back to the van. We are finally moved in and ready to get on the road, and it's so nice to finally make this place feel like home and to finally have all of our hard work paying off as we've created a tiny space that we absolutely love and that's customized to basically our every need.
It feels so great to finally have the van be 100% done, except for the upper cabinet in the back that covers the clothing, because I broke the piston when I was trying to adjust the door. So we're currently waiting on Home Depot for a click and collect order, which we placed 2 days ago. Get it together, Home Depot.
This week we're answering our number one most asked question. How much did this all cost us? We've provided a complete list of everything we purchased and where we sourced it from on our Patreon. So if you want to get the full breakdown of every item in this van, you can head on over to Patreon and join to get access to documents like that and other fun things about this build.
With that being said, we're gonna do a pretty good job in this video of breaking down component by component how much we spent on all of the parts in this van, and then of course coming to a final round number. Anyways, that's enough of the preamble, so let's just jump right into the video and answer what is clearly the most asked question about our van build. How much did this actually cost us? We're Rich and Kirsten, and in 2020 we drove our surprisingly comfortable $500 minivan build across Canada. After living in the minivan for a few months, we knew van life was for us. So we've spent the last 6 months converting an empty shelled Ford Transit into a beautiful tiny home. We started our build with a budget of 12,000 Canadian dollars to bring all of the comforts of a house into our tiny home. So stay tuned for some tips to see where we decided to save money and where we spent big to make the most out of the money that we did have for the build. Just a quick heads up, everything in this video is going to be quoted in Canadian dollars because up here in the Great White North, we use our maple dollars for everything. I'll leave a couple common exchange rates here because if you're not from Canada, maybe that'll help you understand exactly how much our build cost in your local currency. We made 2 fairly significant plan changes to our build after we went through the budgeting process, so the cost of these first 2 items is not reflected against the $12,000 budget that we set up, and the very first of those is our window tint. For just over 400 Canadian dollars, we got tint on our rear windows, on the passenger and the driver window, and we also got a sun bar on our front windshield. And that price included both the tint and the installation. We also got some ceramic tint, which is like a premium tint upgrade. And so far we found it to be very useful when the sun is beating on our vehicle. We've noticed quite a big difference in the amount of heat that's transferred from the sun's rays to the inside of the vehicle.
The second upgrade that we made that was kind of unplanned, or at least wasn't in our original plans for the build, is this little guy right here. Our Wabasso STC airtop heater. This is a 2 kilowatt heater and the only 2 kilowatt gasoline heater available on the market. The S-Bar unfortunately only comes in 4 kilowatts. We are so thankful we've installed it because it'll allow us to go deep into the Rocky Mountains before the summer heat hits. This little heater here cost us a little over $1,800 and the install cost us $506.80. The very first project of this van was the floor. The vinyl flooring cost us $270.66. We did buy luxury vinyl plank flooring, which means it clicks together and it's waterproof, which was a really big deal to us because we're exposed to the elements all the time. The foam board that we use to insulate our floor cost us around $50, and there's also a layer of plywood in there too. One of the biggest parts of any van build is choosing insulation. There's no right answer to this, but we decided to use Havelock wool and foam board. The Havelock wool cost us $506.35. What was it? I'm just gonna have to look at this because I can't remember these numbers. The 1.5 inch foam board that we used in our ceilings cost us $51.89, and the stick pins that we used to hold it in cost us $49.99.
The single most expensive component or ecosystem in any van build is almost certainly going to be the electrical setup. Our total electrical system cost us a pinch over 4,200 Canadian dollars, which included a 200 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery, which on its own cost about 1,700 Canadian dollars. And at the very last second, we decided to ditch the 200 or 300 watts of solar that we had in our original budget and spend the extra money on a larger battery. The reason we did that is because we are going to be spending a lot of our time in the Great Canadian North, especially in the mountains and the forests, so we weren't 100% sure if we were going to be able to harness the sun's power the way we wanted to. The electrical budget also encompassed a 2000 watt inverter, a 40 amp DC to DC charger, all of the marine grade cable that we used in the van, the pot lights, the switches. It also included a Victron Smart Shunt, which allows us to monitor our battery through an application on our phones. That shunt alone cost almost $200, and it also allows us to properly monitor the health of our battery, which was a very large investment, and these lithium iron phosphate batteries can last almost a lifetime if you take care of them properly.
To me, the most important part of this van build was the kitchen. I mean, I guess maybe other than the bedroom, because I really value sleep, but the kitchen was the biggest upgrade compared to the minivan, because in the minivan we were cooking outside, and now we finally are clear of the elements and cooking inside. Okay, now for the parts that you actually want to know. How much did this stuff cost us? This black quartz sink from IKEA, $236.17. This faucet from Amazon, $107.34. This butcher block countertop, also from IKEA, $152.55. This really shows off how small our kitchen is. The most expensive part of our kitchen, this Dometic fridge, the CRX 65, $1,002.52. Subway tile, $44.16.
What about the mortar?
They don't care about that part. Carbon monoxide monitor, extremely important, free from the minivan build.
We saved a pretty healthy amount of money by making our own cabinet faces, because these, when they're made custom for a van like this, can cost upwards of $1,000. All of the 3/4 inch plywood that we used to make these faux shaker style cabinets was just strictly offcut from other parts of the build, so that'll be included in the lumber component at the end of the video. But this trim alone here cost us $233.90. Man, lumber prices got expensive during this build. We spent $625.25 on a combination of things that makes up all of the hardware components in our van. That includes the magnets for our cabinet faces, all of the hinges, all of the pistons, and these really cheap pulls that we got from Amazon. Oh, and it also included all of the drawer rollers that we broke one and had to buy another one, so that added to the cost of everything.
This foam, for the most part, we reused from the minivan build. Therefore, it was free, except for this piece, which was brand new, $28.25. And the fabric that we purchased to cover these beautiful cushions, $47.46. The shiplap that we eventually ended up using on the back of our bed that we actually originally planned to use in the ceiling cost us $224.59. Now there's two major components to this bed. The first one is the mattress, that was $198.78. And the second is our Murphy bed hinges, and that cost us $208.72. It was worth it though. These locks that keep our bed in place, $32.99. These entryway carpets from IKEA that we cut to fit, $31.61. All of our plumbing parts, not including our faucet and sink, but including our pump, $314.16.
Emergency porta potty complete with incorrect Amazon measurements, $175.91.
Luckily for us, we built a lot of the van before lumber prices began to surge. We were still affected in the latter part of the van build by rising lumber prices. Cost of lumber? $1,581.44. Now this is all not to mention all the extra little pieces that go into the van, like tape, silicone, screws, adhesives, more tape because we bought an unbelievable amount of tuck tape. That was $422.65. One of our largest spending budgets that we probably shouldn't have spent so much on was paints and stains, coming in at $576.09. And the last miscellaneous category that we spent almost $1,000 in was tools. We spent $784.40 on tools. That just seems kind of crazy, but we literally owned 0 tools when we started this, so it's more like a long-term investment to buy those tools, and a lot of them are coming with us to help support our van.
And what we've left out of this, which would almost guaranteed be the most expensive part of any build if you weren't gonna do it all 100% yourself, is labor cost. I have no idea where to even start to value our labor because we truly put a countless amount of hours in not just planning, sourcing parts, but actually like doing the work and building the vans. It was a lot of work.
6 months worth of work.
A lot of work.
So the grand total with everything included, plus all the little things that we might have failed to mention, was, drumroll please. Whoops, I accidentally read the wrong final line here. The actual grand total was, okay, cut the drum roll, that's enough. $15,614.15. However, if we deduct our unplanned upgrades of the heater and the tinting, which we would have budgeted for if it was in the original plan, and the cost of tools, which we see more as an investment, then our total is $11,922.70, putting us under budget by $77.30, depending on how you look at it.
If you plan properly and you truly put the hours in, you can actually get to a reasonable budget. And there's also a lot of things that you don't have to spend big on that you see in van life. And I think when you live outside of your comfort zone, you kind of start to realize that you really don't need as much stuff as you think you do. You need food, you need water, you need shelter, you need like a little bit of comfort, so having a really nice bed is always a big plus. But that's really it, especially if you're living the kind of life that you want to live.
The biggest opportunity to save money in our van build was to reuse as much wood as possible and to really plan out how we were going to make those cuts. We also saved a lot of money by not making a lot of exterior modifications to our vehicle, like adding ladders and aluminum siding, that you can spend a lot of money on.
The biggest splurge that we had in this van, well, there was probably 3 of them, and they're things that are very important in order to bring all of the comforts that you have in your home into our van. Number 1 was the battery. That's what powers the entire system in our vehicle. Number 2 was the fridge, which is what gives us refrigeration and allows us to store more food and stay off grid for longer. And number 3 was the heater, because Canadian mountains get cold. So I think that one is pretty self-explanatory.
But they were all definitely 100% necessary. You can decide for yourself if it's worth it to splurge on those items, but for us, they really made sure that we had the comfort of life that we needed in a van.
As always, a special shout out to our patrons for making videos like this possible. We appreciate your support so much. We're hoping that the scenery looks a little bit different next week. But until next week, thank you so much for watching.
Bye!